To our distinguished guest, Administrator Dean Garrett, Department Chair Sosik, faculty and fellow graduates, a pleasant afternoon, evening, and morning to all of you. Welcome to the graduation ceremony of the University of Southern California, Marshall School of Business, Masters of Science in Global Supply Chain Management, the class of 2020. Wow, what a year this has been for all of us. We're dealing with once-in-a-century pandemic leading to end-to-end supply chain disruption. We adopted digital platforms for learning, working, connecting, and celebrating major life events, including our commencement today. Imagine the COVID-19 just 20 years ago. What would have happened to our society without internet, CPU processing power, cost, speed, and associated technologies? Now imagine future post-COVID. You are on the cusp of a unique opportunity driving the future of global supply chains, one which is not only efficient in terms of the cost, but effective and ethical in treating our environment, Earth, socially responsible and transparent. You'll have an opportunity to redesign the network to ensure that we don't ever find ourselves in any future pandemic or any other disruptions. As an academic director and executive director for our center, the most significant event I look forward to is the commencement ceremony. Commencement is not end of your journey. Instead, it means the beginning. You are now pursuing the lifelong passion in applying your knowledge to drive transformation, making an impact globally, and continuing learning at the same time. You are now officially an ambassador of the Trojan Global Supply Chain Management family. I've had an opportunity to see all of you through the journey, reviewing your applications, interviews, orientations, going with you on Singapore and Malaysia trip, working on Lean Six Sigma project, listening to your unique personal and professional stories, and yes, dog ate my homework, and spending last few days going over life maps. Today's event brings a mixture of joy and sadness. Joy for seeing each of you reach your goal and seeing so many success stories of job offer, promotion, even before you have officially graduated. Sadness for saying goodbye to all of you. You have become part of our lives over the last year and a half. My fellow cohort 7 graduate, let us thank significant people who played critical role in today's event to come to fruition. First, your parents, significant others, kids, and friends who supported you through these 16 months of hard work. Our faculties, staff at both the program and the center. They've been working relentlessly around the clock to create an ecosystem to deliver the best-in-class higher education experience. Let us take a moment to recognize their contribution. Through this ecosystem, we're now #1 ranked executive program globally. It is now with great honor and pleasure today that I introduce you to Dean of Marshall School of Business, Dean Geoffrey Garrett. Dean Geoffrey Garrett is a distinguished international political economist and LinkedIn influencer, and is the Dean of the USC Marshall School of Business. He joined Marshall in July 2020 after 6 years as the Dean of the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He joins the Marshall School in a centennial year as the 18th Dean and is tasked to leading the school through an unprecedented pandemic and resultant upheaval in the higher education industry. Jeff returns to USC after having taught there as a popular professor of international relations, business administrations, communication, and law from 2005 to 2008. He also served as a president of UCLA Pacific Council on International Policy. Jeff is a recognized expert in world politics, business, and the global economy, as well as US-China relations. He's held academic appointments at Oxford, Yale, and Stanford University, and is highly sought after by international media for his thought leaderships. He holds BA from Australian National University and MA and PhD from Duke University, where he was a Fulbright scholar. Please join me in welcoming Dean Geoffrey Garrett.
Hi, I'm Jeff Garrett, and it's my honor to welcome you to this very special celebration. Congratulations to you, this year's graduates from the Marshall School's top-ranked Master of Science in Global Supply Chain Management. And thank you to your friends and family, to our faculty and staff who've helped make this day possible for all our graduates. Today's ceremony is unique and a first. the first virtual graduation ceremony for this wonderful program. It follows the great 8th Annual Global Supply Chain Excellence Summit that I know you participated in, along with 1,500 other professionals and experts. At that event, I said that I believe global supply chains are the distinctive feature of contemporary globalization. In the coming years, the imperative to make supply chains more resilient without making them less efficient will be an enormous challenge, but also an incredible opportunity. I know that you've all gained great global perspective during the program, including your trip to Southeast Asia in December 2019. I also know that you've learned a lot about the ever greater role that advanced technologies like AI and robotics are playing in supply chain management. The future of supply chains is the future of the global economy, and that future is in very good hands because it's in your hands. So again, congratulations and welcome. Welcome to the Marshall family of over 90,000 graduates all over the world.
It is now my privilege and honor to introduce you to this year's commencement speaker, Gene Seroka. I've known Gene for over 25 years. He's a great friend, a visionary supply chain leader, and executive board member of our Center for Global Supply Chain Management. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti appointed Gene Seroka as Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles in 2014. Gene is responsible for managing a budget that exceeds $1.6 billion, advancing major capital projects, growing trade volumes, and promoting innovative, sustainable practices to strengthen the region's economy. Gene brings more than 33 years of experience in shipping, global logistics, and executive management. After several key overseas positions for American President Line, APL, he returned to the U.S. in 2010 to become the President of Americas for the shipping line in Phoenix, where he managed APL liner shipping business, including 1,000 employees, and was responsible for all commercial port terminal, intermodal, land, transportation, and labor activities throughout the region. At the outset of this year's COVID-19 global health crisis, Gene led the port response to the pandemic. In March 2020, Gene was appointed by Mayor Garcetti to the position of Chief Logistics Supply Chain Officers for the City of Los Angeles. In that role, he assembled a team of 24 volunteers to create a program called Logistics Victory LA. Love LA has been on the forefront of procuring PPE equipment for the city and the frontline medical workers caring for COVID-19 patients. Gene holds MBA and Bachelor's of Science in Marketing from the University of New Orleans and currently serves as a chair of the California Association of Port Authorities. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Gene Seroka.
Good evening, graduates. It's an honor to be with you for this exciting milestone in your lives. To that end, I want to extend my appreciation to Nick Vyas and the USC Marshall School of Business for inviting me to speak to this year's class of Global Supply Chain Management graduates. While I'm sure completing this degree was likely met with many sacrifices along the way, what you have learned through this program will serve you well as you take the next big step in your career. As someone who has spent more than 33 years in the world of logistics and international commerce, I was honored when Nick invited me to share some thoughts and ideas with you today. In preparing for this occasion, I took time to reflect back on my own career and the most important experiences that personally drove me forward. I also reflected on the maritime industry, which moves over 90% of global trade today. And I took inventory of what I see to be important qualities and traits of our next generation of supply chain leaders. However, let me take a moment to share a few thoughts on the major issues that our maritime industry is facing today and in the years ahead. First, this would not be a 2020 speech without mentioning the impact of COVID-19. In less than a year, this pandemic has changed just about everything we do, how we work, play, live, and learn. Between the pandemic, its resulting recession, and a contentious political environment, to say that we're in the midst of a challenging period would be an understatement. The coronavirus has wreaked havoc on businesses and economies worldwide and the supply chains that underpin them. Since March of 2018, we have also endured a debilitating trade war with China. Ill-advised policies that have led to declines in exports through our port for 22 of the last 23 months. Consumers are paying more for everyday goods, and the conflict has erased $1.7 trillion in market value of publicly traded U.S. companies. In an industry where thin profit margins are gained or lost on the efficient movement of goods, COVID-19 and the trade war have disrupted our supply chain in unimaginable ways. They have caused a level of national economic uncertainty that Americans have not felt since the Great Depression nearly a century ago. At the Port of Los Angeles this year, we have gone from one extreme to another. When the U.S. economy shut down in the spring, we saw a drop in commerce and jobs that haven't been seen since the Great Recession. Yet during the past 3 months, our port has experienced the highest month-to-month cargo volume in our 113-year history. I would like to tell you that the recent surge of cargo was the start of that V-shaped economic recovery that we've all heard so much about. Unfortunately, as 2020 comes to a close, economic uncertainty in the coming months is the only sure thing ahead. The future we face means that all professionals in our industry must be ready to handle the unexpected. So how do we do that? Here are a few thoughts for navigating our unpredictable future. Number one, be mobile, visible, and durable. Be mobile and ready to go where the opportunities present themselves. Look beyond your own backyard to advance your career. When I accepted my first overseas position in Shanghai, the world really opened up for me, both personally and professionally. Since then, my jobs have given me on-the-ground work experience in more than 50 countries to date. I've had the opportunity to live and work in Shanghai, Jakarta, Singapore, Dubai, and other locations right here in the U.S. Being mobile gave me a better understanding of world cultures and business practices. More importantly, it helped me build relationships with professionals across the globe. To advance in your career, you also have to be visible and stand out. You'll have to work harder and smarter than anyone else, period. You'll have to go after opportunities that appeal to you. You will also need to be durable, having thick skin and stand up for things that are important to you. As an example, at the outset of the U.S.-China trade war, I knew our organization couldn't just stand on the sidelines. As the nation's largest seaport, we needed to be visible and advocate against these ill-advised policies that adversely affect our economy. I have talked about these issues routinely over the past several years. I've even testified before the United States Congress. Have I been criticized? Absolutely. But I see this trade war for what it is, detrimental to U.S. companies, consumers, and jobs. There will be times in your career when you have to punch above your weight and take a stand for what you believe in. Your strong conviction and durability will help you meet those challenges head on. My second thought to share with you is always remain out in front of technology. There is a tremendous need in the maritime industry and global supply chain for an infusion of creative, data-driven technology solutions. In the near future, big data, artificial intelligence, and the industrial Internet of Things will enable goods to move through the supply chain with more fluidity. These technologies are already in play at other ports around the world. However, the U.S. is far behind on the development and deployment of digital infrastructure. This must change. Due to the complexity of our operations at the Port of Los Angeles, for the past several years, we have been the driving force in advocating for digital transformation in our supply chain. Right now, we are the only U.S. port that has developed what is known in other parts of the world as a port community system. We call it the Port Optimizer, a digital portal that harnesses the power of big data, machine learning, predictive and prescriptive analytics to make the supply chain more agile and efficient. The Port Optimizer provides cargo owners and their service providers continuous real-time information on the movement of their shipments as it sails from Asia 2 weeks in advance of arrival here in Los Angeles. With this intel, cargo owners, marine terminals, truck fleet operators, longshore labor, and our 2 Class 1 railroads can more effectively plan their operations. In doing so, they can manage the product supply chain more efficiently. The Port Optimizer is a tremendous tool for users of our port. Unfortunately, we are just one port in America's extremely complex and overly stressed supply chain. Development of a nationwide port community system to facilitate a truly 21st century supply chain is going to require a concerted effort at every level. A fundamental shift for an industry that has worked in silos for so long. You must be the agents of change to take the helm and complete the full digitization of our supply chain. And my final thought for you is to always be an engaged global citizen. Throughout your career, you will face issues of humanity, decency, and integrity. In response to them, you should always be honest and trustworthy. That means treating people with respect, whether they're your colleagues, superiors, subordinates, or even your competitors. Also, find ways to use your career and knowledge to make a meaningful difference in the world. Look at ways to give back. This is something I've always tried to do throughout my career. This year, I've been extremely gratified by the work that we have undertaken at the Port of Los Angeles in response to COVID-19. From the very start, this global health crisis created significant disruptions in the medical supply chain, exacerbated by the massive shortages of personal protective equipment, or PPE. These supplies include masks, gloves, gowns, and other essential gear that our frontline medical workers need to safely care for COVID-19 patients. After Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti appointed me as the Chief Logistics Officer in support of LA's response to this crisis, I formed a team of 24 volunteers, and we created a program called Logistics Victory Los Angeles, or Love LA for short. The name Logistics Victory goes back to an era when resources were mobilized at our port to build more than 100 Victory-class cargo ships. These ships were a lifeline to the U.S. and Allied troops during World War II. Today, we carry that same spirit and sense of mission in our fight against COVID-19. As the virus began to take hold here in Los Angeles, Love LA worked to match up brokers and manufacturers of PPE with healthcare providers in need of those supplies. We also formed a relationship with the iconic American company Honeywell Corporation to drive N95 mask production and distribution. We negotiated the purchase and procurement of 24 million N95 masks to be sold to healthcare providers at cost, no markup, no margin, over the next 2 years. To date, Love LA has sold or donated more than 2.9 million units of personal protective equipment and other supplies to 36 Los Angeles area hospitals and 122 skilled nursing facilities. Initiatives like Love LA are undertaken because they are simply the right thing to do. And when you establish and live by high standards of professionalism and goodwill towards humanity, these are the types of opportunities that will allow you, as logistics professionals, to contribute to the greater good of society. So as you begin your next stage of your careers, I encourage you to take these thoughts with you. First, be mobile, visible, and durable in the face of opportunities and challenges alike. Second, be a digital leader. Help drive the change, the technology revolution that our industry so desperately needs. Third, and above all, be an engaged global citizen, a respected professional with compassion and care for all aspects of our industry and society. With that, I want to thank you and extend my sincerest congratulations to everyone. Be safe, be leaders, and fight on.
Wow, it's hard to believe that it has already been about 16 months since I stopped by the Global Supply Chain Management Orientation to welcome you to Marshall. I believe it was in the very room that you see behind me now. Much has happened in those 16 months. You have been challenged by a graduate program that does a terrific job integrating educational experiences provided by classes, the center, industry, and other activities. And you have come through ready for the next phase of your career. 2020 presented additional challenges due to the COVID-19 crisis. But I'll tell you one thing, there are now more people than ever who are aware of and appreciate the importance of supply chains. Sure, there are still some people who haven't considered where their favorite products come from or how they are made available, but that number has become much smaller this year. A recent section in The Economist focused on lasting COVID-19 impacts on global business. The observation was made that supply chains are often not robust, but they are resilient. In other words, supply chains are often unable to keep working through a crisis. However, they are excellent at bouncing back and reinventing themselves. I think 2020 has been a year where you have shown that you are both robust and resilient. At that orientation in 2019, I mentioned my admiration for people who decide to take on the challenge of pursuing a graduate degree. It is not easy, and it's not for everyone. There may even be particularly challenging days where you second guess the decision, but now here you are. We are lucky to have you as graduates, ready to tackle important work felt by so many. We need your expertise, but we also need your robustness and your resiliency. Congratulations and fight on.
Hello, graduating class of 2020. Congratulations on your amazing accomplishment. You did it. You are crossing the academic finish line. It was an honor and privilege to teach you. I'm so proud of you, and I cannot wait to celebrate this achievement in person when everything comes back to normal. Remember, you will always be part of the Trojan family. I'm cheering for you all and wish you all the best. Keep in touch and always fight on.
Hi guys, as the DSO's department chair and one of the instructors in the master's program in global supply chain management, I want to congratulate you on making it through the program. The end is finally here. You had a very memorable year, struggling with your coursework on top of fighting the pandemic, and you did it despite all these challenges. Although I have not met all of you, I hope all of you gained some valuable and useful knowledge during your time in the program, that you made some great friends, and that you will keep in touch with us and let us know about your future successes and new challenges. As you know, every year we hold the Global Supply Chain Management Summit on campus, and it would be great to see you there next year. Fight on.
Congratulations, class of 2020, for the master's program in global supply chain management too. It was a pleasure having you in class for my DSO 520 logistics course. I hope you will be able to use what you've learned in the class at your workplace. Keep in touch and do not hesitate to ever reach out if you have a question or something that you wanted to collaborate on. Congratulations again, and thank you.
The first student speaker I would like to introduce is Abhishek Mehta, who is part of our on-campus cohort and is also pursuing graduate certificate in business analytics. Abhishek received his Bachelor's of Technology in Engineering and MBA from International Trade School in India. Before coming to US, Abhishek was working in Mumbai as a senior manager in several supply chain functions such as procurement, strategic sourcing, international logistics, and supplier management in over 100 countries, and managing one of the country's South African operations of import and sales and distribution. Currently, Abhishek is working as part of the Tesla's global trade compliance team, handling the import operations and its strategic planning for US operations. He is one of the key members responsible for compliance of thousands of shipment Tesla imports every month and helps facilitate the process of governmental compliance agencies.
Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe and healthy. My name is Abhishek Mehta. I'm one of the on-campus students from Marshall's Master of Science in Global Supply Chain Management program and from Marshall's Graduate Certificate in Business Analytics program. Before we begin, here's a brief on my professional life. Before coming to US, I had worked with and in supply chains of dozens of countries spanning over 5 continents. I have dabbled in several supply chain functions, right from downstream functions of sales and operations to upstream functions of planning and strategic sourcing. Therefore, trust me when I guarantee you one thing: the world of supply chain is undergoing a monumental shift on a scale and pace we have not seen in a few decades. First up, I want to talk about the change and its relevance in supply chain. Change is hard, it's unpredictable and unreliable, and difficult to implement. However, most successful individuals, organizations, and functions not just embrace change, rather they thrive in change. Look at the way Chinese word for crisis is defined. You can either view it as an opportunity or as a danger. If you don't do anything, it will anyway be a disaster. Therefore, we might as well be the change agent. Take my life, for example. I was a senior manager with a good job and a good life. Yet I knew without the knowledge of latest data analytics tools, I will become redundant in a few years. I uprooted my entire life, moved to US with no family and no friends in Los Angeles. But it was needed, and I'm glad I persevered. Now let's see how supply chain is changing and what's happened in the last 11 months after COVID-19 was first detected in China, and since then COVID-19 has ravaged every country and economy. Supply chain issues like shortages, longer lead times, shutting down of businesses, harder credit lines, changing customer expectations, and changing consumer behavior has exposed how fine a line supply chain was treading in the last 2 decades. We've all heard and discussed several things about nearshoring, data analytics, blockchain, increasing buffer stocks, multiple supplier sourcing, and several other strategies. We don't know for sure which one is ideal for a given business. But we do know that what worked in 2019 is most likely not going to work in 2021. A change is imminent, and through our global supply chain management program, we are better equipped to understand that change. We have the knowledge, skills, and tools needed to drive that change. I'm absolutely certain we are going to thrive in the new world order of supply chain. I want you all to be open, receptive, and collaborative as we move into a professional world. We'll learn from subject matter experts and we'll drive the change. It'll be great. Take my example interning with Tesla. For the first 4 weeks, I was lost in systems and processes. With time, I learned that Tesla was in, will I be in a business a month from now mode until Model 3 success in 2018. Now, Tesla, like any other company, is moving towards using data analytics in a humongous way. And it is not only machine learning and autopilot technology. With the tools I learned in class, I'm not just able to converse with analysts, but slowly I'm shifting into an analyst role myself. With the knowledge I had of global supply chain and the specific concepts we learned in our internships, previous experiences, projects, classroom discussions, coffee chats, and guest lectures, my team happens to look at me when they need both analytical and supply chain inputs in any area. Next, I want to talk about the program itself. What a time to be in supply chain, right? We needed a program that taught us the basics of supply chain, one that sharpened our critical thinking, one that provided flexibility in choosing courses that matched our aspirations and ambitions, a program that brought industry experts for us to learn about the issues they were facing and the vision going forward, a program that provided a support system in these challenging times, the faculty and staff that was not only supporting and nurturing, but valuable in their critique and advice. Marshall's GSCM program is exactly that. On behalf of entire cohort 7, I want to thank our professors, mentors, administrative staff, and GSCM Center for their unwavering and perennial support and guidance. Now, I want to talk about an area that's extremely close to my heart. I'd go as far as saying it's actually in my DNA. It's about environmental sustainability. I grew up in a closed and socialist economy. I hadn't heard of the term customer service until my 17th birthday. India had enough power generation, but 35% of it was lost in transmission. It rained plenty in India, but my region was perennially under drought. The temperature in summer peaked at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. We couldn't use air conditioners because there's a power cut lasting at least a few hours every afternoon during better part of the year. After my 18th birthday, I started, amongst other things, traveling. I was horrified at the sight of wastage of food, water, electricity. In time, I saw the wastage on a massive scale across the world. I cannot express the pain I go through every time I see wastage of resources of any kind. It is scientifically proven that global food production is more than enough to feed every other person on earth. Yet, millions go hungry every day. It rains enough within a country and a region to ensure that the driest parts get round-the-clock water supply. Why then do we have this disparity? It's because of wastage of resources. Look at the havoc climate change is wreaking on our planet. The repercussions of global warming are real. Who did it and why did it happen is not nearly as important as the fact that we need to be aggressive in our approach. Curbing carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide emission was an option back in 2020. Now, our only option is to become carbon neutral by 2030. And starting 2031, we need to start reducing environmental content of our greenhouse gases. Society by and large and businesses realize that need, and they've started implementing various options to become carbon neutral. As future supply chain managers, we must include environmental sustainability in our strategic and tactical plans, because for me, there is nothing more important than well-being of our future generations. On that note, let's take this time to be thankful for our health. While 2020 has been tough on all of us, be it end-term exams, assignments, fretting over internships or full-time jobs, I say this without a doubt. Our family and friends have been the best support system we could ask for. They supported us like nothing else matters. Think for a moment what you must mean to them, for them to go through all those times when you were busy or had conflicts and could not accommodate them. They stood by our side when we needed them to. They deserve more than our gratitude, and words cannot justify how thankful we are to have them in our life. We've had a wonderful journey starting with our orientation in August last year to remote learning in spring this year. We learned that being on time is being late. We've made amazing memories in Singapore and Malaysia. Many of us have celebrated Diwali, Christmas, and Lunar New Year thousands of miles away from home and our family. But we were not alone. We were with our friends. We were home away from home. This is what every one of you have specially meant to me. Los Angeles, USC, Marshall, and GSCM cohort, which includes all the students, professors, staff, and the center, has been nothing short of a family. I sincerely hope you feel the same. USC's motto of "Fight On" couldn't be more apt. No matter the situation, no matter the adversary, no matter our performance, we will always continue to give our best shot. Therefore, it's only appropriate for one more time. Fight on. Thank you for listening.
Our next student speaker, Assem Yasin, is also from our on-campus program. Assem is a scholar of Bolashek International Scholarship Program. She graduated from Kazakhstan Institute of Management, Economics and Strategic Research with a bachelor degree in Public and Municipal Administration, majoring in Financial Management in 2013. Shortly after graduating, she pursued a full-time position at world's largest high-carbon fluorochrome producers, Kazchrome Corporations, where she first gets to know the big world of supply chain management through working on implementing SAP system for inventory control. After she went on to maternity leave, she couldn't imagine her life without supply chain and logistics, so she became private contractor for International Cargo Transportation Company. Her passion for supply chain and logistics brought her here today at USC.
Good evening. On behalf of Cohort 7, I would like to welcome all faculty, alumni, family, friends, and distinguished guests today at this graduation ceremony. First, let me start with a highlight of this year. The world that we live in is plagued with the dangers. Pandemic, global warming, toilet paper shortage. Yeah, that wasn't easy for anyone. And we still managed to graduate. Looking back, I found that this journey has been incredibly great. It defined me, it pushed me forward, and most importantly, it showed me a whole new world with great people. I am deeply grateful to USC for giving me this opportunity, especially to faculty, our professors, working hard every single day to provide us with outstanding education, inspiring us for personal growth. On behalf of Cohort 7, I would like to say thank you. The staff who worked tirelessly, coordinating our events, program, an amazing trip to Singapore that we were lucky to visit just before worldwide lockdown. On behalf of Cohort 7, I would like to say thank you to each member of each family, to all your love, support, and encouragement. On behalf of Cohort 7, I would like to say thank you and we love you. And finally, I would like to thank YouTube for taking care of my kids during this pandemic. Let me also use this opportunity to express my personal, sincerest gratitude to all my classmates. I really enjoyed working and cooperating with each and all of you to crack the toughest nut in my educational pursuit. Thank you for influencing my life in so many positive ways. And now we're almost done. It's our day, Cohort 7. It was a tough year for everyone, but despite all the odds, I have a great news for you. In today's world of pandemic, we're in a right place. Pandemic gave us lemons, so it's time for us to make a lemonade. The world rethinking its supply chain strategies. People rethinking their lifestyle, relying more than ever on deliveries. Business adjusts to a new reality. It's our time to shine and offer this world our knowledge. Start making changes and make impact for better world. Don't wait for perfect time or opportunity to come along. Go out there and make it happen for you. Create your own opportunity because there is no such thing as a perfect time. And remember, sometimes the best opportunities will come concealed as dilemmas. Follow your dream through courage and determination. In the words of Peter Drucker, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Fight on, Trojans. Fight on.
Our next student speaker is Matthew Wilson from Online Executive Program. Matt received Bachelor's in Science in Business Administrations, Manufacturing Management, and Consulting from Carnegie Mellon University. Previously, Matt worked as a supply chain consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he supported large-scale supply chain initiatives, such as executing $100 million in domestic transportation sourcing project for an explosive company and introduced an Asia-based sourcing team for large distributors of automotive parts. He then worked with DB Schenker, where he optimized cross-border supply chain with a major focus on international transportation. Currently, Matt works as a regional expansion manager at McMaster-Carr, where he's responsible for managing the California facility's 5-year plan.
Thank you, Nick. I'm incredibly excited to be here today. Wait, that didn't sound quite right. Let me try again. Thank you, Nick. I'm incredibly excited to be recording this speech for all of us to watch on our graduation day. There we go. That was more accurate. I should have known that I wasn't going to get through this program without at least one more assignment that I had to complete. At least this time, I didn't have to run my speech through the PitchVantage software that we use in our communications course. I could never quite figure out the combination of pace variability and pitch variability that would lead to a high score. I want to take you all back to the first week of the program, where many of us met during orientation. I was incredibly excited to meet all of you and the faculty that we were going to be working with. We shared a variety of experiences, from a statistics crash course, which made many of us question why we were going back to school, to happy hours at the 9-0, where we would pack into a small bar, get to know one another, and where many of us started to form lasting bonds. After that week, I knew that I was in the right place with the right people who had a variety of experiences and perspectives that I was extremely excited to learn from. After the first week, I was curious to see how connected I was going to stay to the cohort. I was a part of the online program, so I wasn't going to have very many face-to-face interactions, but the program had a ton of virtual technologies set up that really made the program interactive. I enjoyed the Zoom classroom sessions. I liked the breakout rooms where we could talk in small groups about topics we were learning. The classes were project-based, and so there was a need to continuously check in on priorities and status updates. This was all really neat and interesting the first semester of the program. The second semester and then later semesters of the program, when COVID-19 was impacting everyone's lives, Zoom fatigue became a real thing. And so instead of Zoom being something that we would use just for class meetings and actually attending classes, we were using it in our day-to-day jobs as well most of the time. So many of us were on Zoom for up to 8 hours a day during the day, and they make the long commute to switching out their work laptop, putting it to the side, plugging in their personal laptop, and getting ready to log into class or some sort of project meeting. It's been a crazy year and a half. One thing I've really appreciated through the program is that many of the classes were set up so that we were able to interact and work with not just the online section or the on-campus, but together as well. I truly believe that everyone in this program has valuable experiences and perspectives to share. So I've really enjoyed getting to work with and getting to know all of you. No graduation speech for this program would be complete without at least touching upon Singapore. Singapore was by far my highlight, and I'm sure it was the highlight for many of you as well, especially since we really haven't been able to do anything in person since. When I started this program, I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to USC. I know I'm going to get a great education, but I was really curious to see what was going to be that X factor that USC brought. How are they differentiating themselves from all the other supply chain programs out there? For me, that X factor was Singapore. I'll give you a specific instance. There's a variety of experiences we had in Singapore, from behind the scene port tours to visiting a variety of companies and seeing some really unique and interesting automation tools that people are using in Singapore to make their companies more productive. All of those were incredibly valuable experiences and very unique. The one experience that sticks out to me is the dinner and drinks that we had at One Altitude Bar. I remember walking up onto the rooftop bar on the 63rd floor of that building, overlooking the Marina Bay Sands, and probably having the best view of Singapore that there is, thinking to myself, well played, USC, well played. The program could have ended there. I could have flown home that night, no more classes, no anything, and thought, yeah, no, that was worth it. worth every single penny. That was awesome. Thinking about it a bit more, one thing that made it so great was not just the location and how it was set up, but spending that time with all of you, getting to know each other even better, and really continuing to form that bond that we started at orientation and solidifying it in Singapore. Now, when we moved back to wherever we're virtually logging in from our computers or going back to USC's campus, none of us could have predicted what was going to happen over the next couple months. COVID-19 started to spread in Asia and then quickly spread across the rest of the world. A lot of people ask me, has COVID-19 had a negative impact on my educational experience? I actually tell them the opposite. I say that I think it actually has increased my ability to be ready to take on the world and whatever companies I work with in the future after this program. The main reasons being COVID-19 really has had a huge impact on how we think about supply chains and what the future might be holding for a variety of companies. Each one of us has a variety of experiences that we brought, and a lot of us are working. And so we've all shared how we've seen COVID-19 has impacted our lives, our communities, and our companies. So we all have we've heard more scenarios and more unique experiences that people have had than pretty much anyone. And so as we graduate, and as the companies that we're working with or for are looking to revamp their supply chains, adjust how they think about sourcing, procurement, getting to the end customer, not only have we been given the tools, but we really have a great understanding of the options that these companies have. And we can go help them answer some of these very tough questions. And so I expect many of us to become the leaders at some of these companies. And I'm really excited to see where all of you end up and how we take on the world and make an impact when it comes to being a supply chain leader. And so on that note, I want to say I'm incredibly proud to be a part of this program and to have met all of you and excited to see where you go. And given where we are in the state of the world, let's go make it happen. Fight on.
Our next student speaker is Janice Hecker from our Online Executive Program. Janice obtained Bachelor's in Business Administration with concentration in Management Science from California State University, Fullerton in 2005. Shortly after graduating, she pursued full-time position at UPS, where she celebrated 15 years with UPS today. Through her time with UPS, she has obtained her custom brokerage license and has held several positions as a supervisor in custom brokerage department. She currently works as a Solution Engagement Manager in the Customer Solutions Department.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow graduates, family, and friends. When we started 16 months ago, I would have never imagined a virtual commencement. And after this last month's Supply Chain Summit and Mixer, I don't know if I really need to leave my house for another conference or Mixer in the future. I never thought I'd actually go through a graduate program. I talked about it for years, making excuses why I wasn't ready. And in recent years, I had been going back and forth between Cal State Long Beach's Global Logistics Program and USC's Global Supply Chain Management Program. I made the right choice in becoming a Trojan. Getting my master's was a promise I made to my dad. Education was so important to him. Graduating with a bachelor's was good, but having a master's was what he would always encourage me to do. My dad passed away in 2008, and in a way, it gave me an excuse to take the time to figure out which program I really wanted to get into. It wasn't until my nephew Derek had told me he had applied for this program at USC. Well, that lit the fire and accelerated my timeline into getting my master's. And if you're following the family tree, my dad is Derek's grandfather. So there was no way I was going to let Derek get his master's before me. If you think about it, we went through this global supply chain management program during the best time ever. We took this memorable trip to Singapore with an even more memorable day trip to Malaysia. We were able to compare and contrast what we know about US infrastructure with infrastructure at Singapore, and was able to even have a taste of healthcare in Malaysia. We literally got to experience a pivot in trends and discuss our day-to-day changes during every single class meeting. We saw the change a pandemic can make on the world and how it trickled from country to country. Not only were we experiencing it on a day-to-day basis individually, but we can say that we learned from each other's experiences at the same time too. Through our classes, we collaborated, shared ideas, revealed hardships from work, and saw that no matter the industry, work function, or company for that matter, we shared the same adversities. On the flip side, in the 18 years I've been in the supply chain field, I have finally been able to have a conversation with someone outside of work and not have to explain what supply chain or logistics means when explaining what I do for work. So where do we go from here? As I was interviewing into my current department at UPS, I'd been discussing with the manager I report to today why I was still where I was at the time. And he said something that still resonates with me now, and what I tell those I mentor. He said, "You own your career. You can't blame anyone for where you are except yourself." It's now the time to take what we've learned into our advantage. Utilize the strong USC network as we venture into the next avenue in our lives, and ultimately be intentional with life moving forward, both personally and professionally. Thank you to the USC faculty for all you do to coordinate the semesters, communications, and events we are a part of. Thank you to all the professors that dealt with all the haggling and negotiating we may have put you through during our classes. And a special thank you to Nick for all your busy days, endless relationships, and unlimited juggling just to make sure this program keeps going and growing better and better year over year. As a final thought, over the last 16 months, I learned more than I bargained for. With the support of my husband, mom, family, and friends, who did all that they could do to keep my girls out of my Zoom meetings, I learned that I can be a daughter, aunt, sister, landlord, wife, a mother of 2 beautiful, sassy daughters, work full-time, travel for work, take on multiple extracurricular activities, be a mentor, move across state lines, project manage building a pool in my backyard, travel for leisure, make new friends, make new memories with old friends, all while obtaining a master's degree for me in a field I am passionate about. What took 14 years of contemplating was accomplished in 16 months, and I wouldn't change the timing for the world. Thank you.
Our next student speaker is Ken Washington from Online Executive Program. Ken received Bachelor's of Science in Information Systems and MBA from California State University of Northridge. He spent over 20 years in the management of ERP implementation for a software company based in Europe, 10 years as a vice president of professional services. Ken has also overseen and directly managed the implementation of ERP software at over 500 companies. For the last 10 years, Ken has worked for his own company as an independent consultant with focus on ERP implementation.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address you, my fellow classmates of the USC Global Supply Chain Management class of 2020. Wow, my experience in the program has simply been wonderful. I realize it's not just because of the material we have covered, but it is the people I have been on this journey with, and that is you, my cohort 7. I've become accustomed to seeing each of you mostly in, little 2-inch squares across my screen, no doubt, including today. The brief times we have spent physically together in Los Angeles during our first week, and then in Singapore was a wonderful memory. And I must say, I count our time in Singapore as a lifetime memory. Again, not just because of the learning experience, but because you helped make it that memory. My only disappointment with the whole program has been the COVID-related cancellations. How I wish we could be sharing this time at USC in person in the town and gown room, but I hope we can actually do that sometime down the road. I think you know there are distinct advantages to coming to USC, right? The USC brand name sets it apart, which is probably why you applied here in the first place. When I myself look over resumes for hiring, resumes from students from USC, I've always given a second look just because of the school's reputation. Now that we have all experienced the university and specifically this program, I think we all recognize what really sets the school apart. It's not because of the quality of the education, because frankly, you can get a quality education at a number of good institutions. What is uncommon is the clear commitment that we saw demonstrated really from all the program staff, from the professors in each of our classes, and from the program leadership. I'm convinced they are all really trying to do all they can to help us. Something else I think sets the school apart is the regular stream of internship opportunities and student supply chain competitions, job fairs, company recruiting visits, and actual job opportunities themselves. I received my MBA from a public institution and the quality was excellent. However, the school could not offer anywhere near the opportunities presented here at USC, specifically through the Global Supply Chain Program. Now, if I could offer some advice to my fellow cohort, we have learned many techniques to manage supply chains. We were also presented with many new technologies really at the forefront of adoption that will help digitize supply chains. Some of these technologies, namely, let's say blockchain and artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, for example. But with these newly sharpened skills that we have obtained, something to remember. Your skills are perishable. Of course, even these technologies will soon be replaced with even newer disruptive technologies. So I recommend at least every 3 to 5 years, you need to reevaluate your skills and consider adding more to your education, either through certifications or full-blown additional degrees. That practice I know has served me well. And so my suggestion to you is when it comes to your education, when it comes to your learning, stay hungry and never satisfied that you know enough or that there's not more for you to learn. Now, if I could speak to the younger of our cohorts, you have a unique opportunity. Beyond the job opportunities, the instruction and advice you've been provided by the staff and the faculty and the program leadership of the school, you have an additional asset available to you in your career. You have us. You have your cohort. I know I can speak for myself and for all of the more senior and experienced members of our cohort when I say how open we are to doing all we can to help you. Don't make the mistake of considering your completion of the program here at USC to be the conclusion of your relationship to the school and your network of Trojans. Consider the conclusion of this program to be really more of the end of the beginning, right? Use your relationships to gain not just job opportunities, that's important, of course, but use your relationships to further your education and your knowledge, to extend it. Now, let me give you a few examples right from your cohort. Now, when we were in Singapore and visited the ports in Malaysia and Singapore, if you were fortunate enough to stand around Kevin Fong or Sam, now, of course, Sam before she got sick, Kevin and Sam's deep firsthand knowledge and experience of how ports operate, wow, that was extremely educational, and they were both extremely generous with sharing their experience. That was a huge opportunity to learn, and it still is. Derek Hacker and Janice Hecker, know all there is to know about how UPS operates because they live it every day. Ben Hoses, he's traveled the world implementing systems and has extensive project management experience. Matt Wilson, tremendous consulting background. His inventory management experience, his call center management experience, he's someone you should get to know. And those are just a few of the names that come to mind when considering the wealth of experience that is our cohort 7. Well, let me say again, it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to address you today. It was a pleasure to be part of this program. It was a pleasure to be part of USC. And I thank you, cohort 7, for making this such an enjoyable journey for me. And so, just to say, fight on.
Manoj Agarwal, Assem Amini, Ruben Areola, Rashi Bagadia, Sukdeep Ball, Clayton Barnes, Aditi Bonsal, Andy Cabrera, Elizar Jesse Campos, Chin Yu Bridget Chang, Yishan Chloe Chen, Yushen Chang, Marielle Kajia, Allison Corpus, Harijat Dalal, Rehan Dean, Nicholas Echeverry, Tracy England, Sheng Xia Feng, Karina Figueroa, Kevin Baum, Samantha Galton, Vikram Gocha, Sheen Cindy Guan, Derek Hacker, Janice Hecker, Christina Hinton, Benjamin Moses, Chang Shang Jason Shit, Shen Jason Hugh, Yi Irene Wang, Ying Chi Ruby Wang, Yuki Wang, Hambo Jaguga. Yichen Giang. Mine Caracas. Alexander Kwong. Jian Cheng Lai. Shin Kaylee Lai. Yitong Lexi Lai. Yanli Lai. Yu Shao Yuna Lin. Chen Geoffrey Liu. Apeksha Lakhandi. Julian Lopez Berlane. Gabrielle Lubin. Pratik Mahadik. Delio Marquez. Abhishek Mehta. Devi Nagareddy. Kwangil Na. Hyun Jung Oh. Srivatsan Ramesh. Utu Coco Shi. Puya Sultan Mohammadi. Hao Sheng Sun. Lei Lily Ham. Ni Trong. Nien An Tai. Alexander Yuri. Hao Yu Wang. Rong Xuan Wang. Si Wei Wang. Yuen Bin Wang. Ken Washington. Matthew Wilson. Zenhai Wu. Yue Wu. Kong Shu. Ri Shu. Asemgo Yesenbayeva. Xin Yao Cindy Yun. Yu Jia Zai. Hong Sheng Ivy Zhang. Xiong Wen Elaine Zhang. Tang Gan Zhao. Yi Fei Fei Zhao. Rong Nicole Zhang. Danielle Zhao. Ying Ying Zhao. Sha Zhu.
Dear all, the power instilled by the trustees, deans, chair, and the faculties of the USC, I present to you the graduate of the Masters of Science in Global Supply Chain Management, the class of 2020. Congratulations, Trojans, the future ambassador of Global Supply Chain Management, and fight on.